When you have abandonment wounds, you have a higher probability of attracting a narcissistic partner because you're willing to self-sacrifice, you're willing to overgive, you're willing to overlove.
Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. I am your host, Vanessa Soul. Thank you so much for investing your time and your energy into tuning in to today's episode. I am super excited for today's guest. Today's guest is David Staab. He is an ayahuasca guide, healer, and advocate for authentic self-leadership. David, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. I always like to speak on some of the more uncomfortable topics out there, destigmatize some things. And yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and your awesome audience.
Thank you. And it makes sense that we connected.
Yeah.
Like to talk about the hard stuff. So perfect. My signature question that I love to ask everyone is, who are you and who are you not?
Who am I? What a deep, interesting question. Well, I like to believe that I'm a unique soul that's here to continue to learn to express my most authentic self. It's like I've seen, I feel like we come into this experience with a unique soul expression with whatever reasons and tests and different kind of journeys we come in to learn. And then there's all these programs and conditionings that kind of create inauthenticity towards what we actually came here to express. So I feel like I'm a soul that is continuing to do the work to learn to express itself authentically while navigating this realm. Who am I not? I am. Yeah, that's a really interesting question to start off with. I'm not someone that's inauthentic. I am exactly what I'm, an open book.
So before we dive into the meat and potatoes of today's topic, I want to get a little bit of insight and understanding of your journey. You were living and training in the Amazon jungle. When was that, and what was it like, and what were some of the challenges and maybe even the highlights?
Yeah, so my journey's been really, really unique. I've been working with ayahuasca for the past decade. I've been back and forth to the Amazon, Leticia, the Putumayo, Mexico, a lot of different places over the past decade. Living there for about 4 months was my longest stretch. I've been back and forth many times over the years, but the 4 month stretch was really powerful for a multitude of reasons. Not to go too much into this part now, but after leaving a really unhealthy relationship, being able to go into the Amazon for 4 months and do some incredible training with this elder, with the Inga tribe, sitting with the medicine every week, specifically with the elder, learning more about the medicine and myself was incredibly powerful. Outside of the medicine, one of the things engulfing yourself in that culture is it's a deeper awareness of how there's so many energies to go and do and constantly be on the move in the US, and everything moves so much slower when you're out there. The Amazon has an intelligence of its own that is also always teaching and guiding and nurturing, but it's very present. You're just really present. You're there. Everything moves a lot slower, and they're all really connected to nature. And I got a beautiful opportunity to go so deep with even deeper with ayahuasca with this elder while I was there learning, which helped my process. Because, not to put ayahuasca in a box, but what I've seen time and time again, it tends to, as long as the individual is willing to go to the depths at which ayahuasca can take you to, it's willing to help kind of almost speed up the process of whatever healing and whatever things you need to go through. So I got to go through some deep, wild processes of all the roles I played in allowing really unhealthy things for so long that I wasn't as consciously aware of. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful for an unexpected, really deep healing experience. It was really beautiful to learn more efficient ways to carry the medicine as just an instrument, because I'm literally just the instrument. So it was really cool to learn more efficient ways to carry the medicine, and some pretty challenging tasks that the elder kind of put me through while I was there too, to help kind of increase the what they consider spiritual strength. You have a physical body, an energetic body, and a spiritual body, and your spiritual body can increase the strength of it through those trainings.
Hmm. And what was an example of one of those challenging times that the elder put you through?
Sure. Um, so, and again, I want to really reiterate something first, that I'm in no way, shape, or form advocating this for anybody, because it's a really personal, deep calling to work with the medicine. So, not advocating this kind of thing for anybody. But one of the examples, we'd be sitting in ceremony, and usually you take 3 cups. And this specific Taita knew me. I've been working with him over the years, back and forth. So I've had some time to really gain his trust, and I've helped support him in some of the things they do over there too. So I've had some time to build some trust there, and he saw that I can handle ayahuasca quite well. I can handle it quite well. So he had an understanding that he can kind of put me through some more challenging things. And one of the things that was a little unexpected, instead of giving me cups, about 6 weeks into it, he had this other wooden bowl, and it's an equivalent of about 2.5 cups of ayahuasca. And he started pouring this bowl and serving me the bowls of medicine, which is a lot more intense on the energetic body and on the spiritual body. And it goes, and so he started doing these bowls of medicine. And what he did, which was really interesting, I didn't know what he was doing while he did it, but after the third bowl, once my body started adapting to like trying to work with that much medicine, because it gets really intense, he handed me my guitar. Now, I play Spanish medicine music in ceremony, but I was really deep in the medicine. He handed me the guitar and he said, "Play this song." And he told me the song to play. And I'm like, "Do you want me to play a song right now? What's the equivalent of like 6 cups of medicine?" And he's like, "Play the song." He's very, very, um, not in a toxic way, in how their culture works, very masculine. He's very stoic, very like, there's no game. He's like, "Play this." And I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to play, and it's hard to explain, but when you're in that, you have that much ayahuasca, there's so much happening and processing, and it was hard to play the guitar under that much. And I messed it up, and when I would mess it up, he'd say, "Keep playing it, keep playing it." And he basically had me keep learning how to work technically and efficiently, technically, under a very, not only a strong medicine, but a significant amount of medicine. And he would do this night after night until I could play really effectively and really clean, learn how to work on a technical level, on a deeper technical level, with the quantity and strength of that medicine, which was really cool. What it ended up doing was finding a deeper layer of comfort, because I've been serving the medicine for years in the States, but there's a deeper layer of comfort if you can become technically proficient under a significant amount of medicine. I'll never be drinking that much medicine in ceremony, but it was this way where he was expanding and forcing my brain to be able to do technical things under a significant amount of like stress under the medicine.
Thank you for sharing that. I felt
Yeah,
like
it
I
was.
was kind of in it with you. What is ayahuasca and what does it mean to work with it responsibly?
Sure. So ayahuasca is a really sacred plant medicine. It's found in the Amazon jungle. It does grow a little bit in parts of Hawaii, but it's found in the Amazon jungle. The indigenous call it the grandmother. And I want to, before I even kind of go into this, in no way, shape, or form am I putting it into a box. It's such an ancient, sacred spirit. It's very difficult to describe it. But whenever you consent to work with it, there's a deep spiritual consent there, where whatever the most unconscious layers that are creating resistance in your experience, she'll bring those up as an opportunity for you to choose to meet her with those and work through those in ceremony. And then she always also leaves you with homework, certain kind of individual homework to when you go home, to work with it responsibly. That's a really good question too, because man, I've gotten so much judgment, so much you know, I'll transparently, when I first sat with the medicine like a decade ago, I felt this connection with it, but I had so much self doubt. I was like, I'm a white boy from Oklahoma that grew up on a farm. Like, there's no way I'm supposed to be like. So I had way too much self doubt. I kept drinking the medicine, but I was really blessed to meet an indigenous teacher. His name was Danilo, that saw something in me when I was like, and he was like, huh, and he started like kind of moving me over to start work, not doing stuff with it, but he had me start doing tasks in ceremony, and he had me start helping him in ceremony. He kept watching. Long story short, he ended up like kind of taking me under his wing and early on, and started showing me things that I met his teachers in the Amazon. So I say all that to say, to work with it responsibly, one of the foundational things that it absolutely requires is a humble heart. It's a humble heart because I can only speak from a man's perspective. And this is just my opinion on it, but there's this wiring in men that can be really detrimental to think you have something figured out or you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this blueprint of leadership that can be healthy whenever it's healthy, but if it becomes arrogant, or if you think you have, if you know, you'll close it off, and then there's really hard lessons that come there. So being humble is foundational. A true master is an eternal student, like they talk about in the Tao Te Ching. So being humble, number one, and also really honoring where it came from. It's been incredible meeting how the indigenous work with it in their way. Um, and I've had this really unique position that I'm still learning about, where I see how they work with it over there. And the years I've been able to work with it in a really effective way in the States, this is, and the indigenous talk about this too. There's a prophecy of the eagle and the condor, where one day when they come together and work together, there'll be peace on earth. And there's a lot of different ways to describe that, but there's this evolving that's happening, where the medicine, this is the first generation, the medicine's beginning to come to the States to start to and the way the indigenous describe it, it's because there's so much trauma, there's so much need, and there's so much deception, there's so much manipulation, so much in the States, that there's it's beginning to work its way over. So it's honoring the tradition of where it's from, being willing to give back to where it's from and honoring that and continuing to go back to that, while continuing to have an open mind to how things are evolving. Because the way in the indigenous, it's very strong, very straightforward, while in the West, it's like there needs to be a little more almost compassion. There needs to be a little more unconditional love, because the family system is so broken in the West. There needs to be a bit of a softer touch when I work with people over here.
Yeah. What are some key insights? Like, let's break this down. Like, what are three key insights from your experience from facilitating ceremonies?
Number one is continuing to come back to the knowing that you are the instrument. Because I've had heartbreak after heartbreak of some teachers over the years, and it's my fault because I pedalize them. It's easy to pedalize like a teacher. That whatever path you're on, there's no one path greater than another. But the deeper you face yourself and the deeper you dive into your path, you gain wisdom, you gain understanding, you gain higher perspectives. But it's when you're in the moment, it's you are just the instrument. It is not you. You're following it. The more you can listen and just be in a place of being an instrument, the more efficient everything works. And I think there's something beautiful about how ceremony relates to life. Like, we think we have to do all these things, and there is a doing, but it's like how the Taoists call it, doing, not doing. It's listening and being the instrument. So number one, continue to remember to be the instrument. And that's been, I've had some wild experiences, especially, and again, this is a really stigmatized topic, so I'm not trying to go into this too much right now, but it's my truth. There is an aspect of exercising entities and removing those kind of things. There's some really malicious shit that a lot of people aren't aware of that are affecting people on a spiritual level. So in those moments when you're doing something like that, it's easy to put it's not you doing it. You just need to be in a really present, peaceful, calm state and allow God to use the medicine to work through you to do the doing of in those tense moments. So one, being the instrument. Two, kind of like what I spoke about before, committing to being an eternal student, always learning, because there is all. I don't subscribe to forever healing, but because I think you can heal traumas, you can't heal those, but you're always learning, you're always expanding, you're always seeking higher perspective. So one, you're the instrument, which is a deeper surrender to a higher power, which helps things flow. Two, remaining an eternal student, so you don't get in your own way, because we all do it, it's human, but we get in our own way. So remaining an eternal student. And then three, working with ayahuasca, I would say three, being able to meet people where they're at. Really, truly being able to meet people where they're at. Because, and you see this in all the major indoctrination systems, especially with indoctrinated religion, but I think one of the worst things we can do is tell other people how they're supposed to live or what they're, and it's easy to find, oh, my way's working for me. So that means this should work for you. So it's really being able to see where someone's at, meet them with compassion, not without boundaries, because there is a little thing there where you can like begin to self-sacrifice and like dishonor yourself. So it's this fine
Oh, yeah.
line of meeting people where they're at, but having enough self-respect and self-love to meet people where they're at with your own internal boundaries. So I would say those three.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I love breaking things down in threes because it just really allows us to, reflect on some of the core concepts. And so I want to go back to a little bit to your personal journey. You were healing from narcissistic abuse at some point in your life, right? And what was that like? And was that prior to you um, facilitating, or was that a consistent journey? What was that like?
Yeah, it's a wild story. I'll do my best to hit the high points of it. And it served a beautiful purpose, man. I gotta say, as shitty as I was treated for about a decade of marriage, and it served such a beautiful purpose when all the dust settled of learning love, self-love, and learning boundaries and all this. So, long story short, I had abandonment wounds that I wasn't fully aware of. So you kind of get insights on this after all the dust settles from everything. And what happened when you have abandonment wounds, you have a higher probability of attracting a narcissistic partner because you're willing to self-sacrifice, you're willing to overgive, you're willing to overlove. And I do, before I say any of this, I'm not judging the narcissist. I want to make that clear. I'm not judging the narcissist, but I'm also not going the other extreme of discrediting how shitty it is to be treated in some ways that people can be treated, because you can fall into either extreme of that. And I got sucked into a really, really intelligent, highly emotionally and psychologically manipulative narcissistic being. And again, it's not a judgment. I've spent so much time trying, what's the root of narcissism? Is it a wound? Is it a spiritual thing? And we're never really going to know. My personal belief, I think it all comes back to a wound. But again, I'm not making an excuse for it at the same time. So that doesn't matter. And the ironic thing is, a lot of people know me from my past chapter. I built kind of an empire. I was doing international retreats all over the world. We had the #1 ayahuasca center rated with all these wonderful reviews and never had anything bad happen. It was a beautiful center in Texas, 300,000 followers, a top podcast. And the healing that happened was beautiful. But no one really knew how horrible I was actually being treated on the inside of it. It was like this wild spiritual boot camp almost of like me having to constantly like when you're in that, you don't realize it when you're in it, but you're kind of like never feeling enough, partially because of your wound, but partially there's an interdependence in conscious relationships. It's not codependent. It's not independent. It's an interdependence. There's responsibility on both parts. And there was so much treatment that just reinforced that I wasn't enough, that I felt like I had to become perfect at serving medicine, perfect at content, perfect at being patient, perfect at being a husband. Like this constant strive for perfection that was never enough. But it did make me really efficient at all these things. So there's beauty in this like really uncomfortable, really horrible experience I was experiencing on the inside that nobody knew about. On the outside, it looked like I had this great marriage. I had like this beautiful healing center, which the healing center was true. The content was all very authentic. Like all the stuff was coming from a good place, but it was all at my own self sacrifice. It was me basically running on a very, very empty cup for years. And I almost got out of it. And I know it's hard to explain. I almost use the word escaped. I almost got out of it 2 times before I finally left. And I didn't see what was happening, where I like something went really bad. I did my absolute best to have a conscious conversation and like meet and just went to shit when you're with someone like that. And I left for a few days, but I always got sucked back in. When eventually I saw everything for what it was, and ayahuasca really helped me with that. And once I saw that, and again, it's hard to explain unless you're in it, but you almost have to, in some cases, you have to like escape. You have to like escape. And then you have to like not look back. You have to go no contact, because there's it's some kind of interesting, I don't know if it's the depth of a trauma bond. There's some kind of intentional manipulation to keep you in this thing where you are you are the battery life for everything. You are the source. You're like a source of these beings that will take and will take and will keep you just enough in to keep you going. So when I left, I had to like go no contact and all that. So once I left that, God did a really cool thing. I didn't know what I was going to do, and it was ironic how it happened too. I'm really, really close with God. And when I say God, it's a unique experience for everyone. But I've grown a really, really deep, intimate relationship with God through stillness, through my work and all that. And there was a little conversation right before I did it. And it was like, if you leave, you have to leave everything. Like literally everything you built, you have to start all over. You have to leave everything. I took my guitar, my dog, bottle of ayahuasca, and a bag of clothes. I left. It's pretty wild. I just walked away from it all, and I knew so many people wouldn't understand it. And when people can't control you anymore, they try to control what people think of you. And I knew it, and it was I went through the ringer, but I just didn't care at that point. Like I knew my truth, and I knew. And while I had like this huge following and inner circle, when all that happened, my inner circle came down to about 11 really solid, strong people that trusted me, that saw it before I could see it. So it made my circle super tiny, but highly efficient. And now I'm in the process of rebuilding everything. You kind of caught me on the ground floor, going to the Amazon, starting from scratch, but starting with a lot more wisdom, a lot more knowing, ironclad boundaries now, a deep level of self respect. And God moves really quick. Something really unexpected that happened, which is I talk a lot about now, because narcissism, healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships, they're not subjective. You either have the traits or you don't. There's very clear components of an unhealthy relationship and a healthy relationship. But it's the ability and willingness to see the red flags and not ignore them. It's the ability and the willingness to have the uncomfortable conversation and observe the responses. So I say all that to say I attracted, it's ironic, but I had one of my best students for a few years, purely platonic, really great student. Once I left all that, we ended up connecting, and it was so beautiful. And long story short, um, it has been the most authentic. It's like a polar opposite experience of what I experienced in my previous marriage, of this loving, authentic, patient, conscious thing. And when you're in a healthy relationship after an unhealthy one, stuff comes up because you're used to chaos. You're used to always putting this out. So now it evolved into like this really healthy, conscious relationship. And she's also on the same path I am. So it all served a beautiful purpose, because you can't really hold and do what you need to do to hold and lead and be part of a healthy union if you don't love yourself enough, if you don't know boundaries, if you don't have the capacity to speak your truth. So all that really shittiness of how I was treated for so many years served a purpose in helping me be the best version of myself for an actually healthy thing now.
Thank you for sharing that. What are a few signs or patterns that are those red flags that we can raise awareness around, so that way, if someone is in a romantic relationship or maybe even a community relationship and they're not sure, what's really going on, what are some signs and patterns? Maybe just a few.
There are a couple signs to answer your question. One, in a healthy thing, both people are willing to seek to understand the other perspective. They're willing to sit and seek to understand the other perspective. In a healthy thing, a good couple good questions to ask too, because when you're in it, it's hard to know that you're in it. A healthy relationship, you feel loved, you feel enough. There's a part of your stuff that is responsible for that, but there's going to be this consistent flow of external validation that you're more than enough. They're going to love you. You're going to feel truly loved. You won't feel not enough based upon their actions. If you have stuff that comes up, it's your stuff. They're going to love you, and you're going to feel truly loved. You're going to feel like you're on the same team. An unhealthy thing, you're constantly not on the same team. Someone always has to be right. In an unhealthy thing, there's a severe lack of validation of your experience. Like and it doesn't matter if your experience is right or wrong. In a healthy thing, it's validated. Intimacy is only created from presence and authenticity. And you can't get to that if your at least initial emotions aren't validated. Doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean they're wrong, but at least validate. There's in an unhealthy thing, there is no validation of your emotions. And I love the questions that you can ask yourself too to really know if you're unhealthy. Like if you have a son or daughter and they ended up with your partner, how would that make you feel? Um if what was the other one? Oh, if your partner or your whatever, if they never changed for the rest of your life together, would you be happy? Because we fall in love with potential. We fall in
Mhm,
love with what we thought it once was.
mhm.
And when it comes to like family stuff too, because and this is just my opinion, I think it's really toxic to think that no matter what, we're sticking with family no matter what happens, because I think that keeps people in really abusive, unhealthy things. And when I had my daughter, when I knew I was having my daughter, I did my absolute best to send a message to reconnect with the family that walked away when I started an ayahuasca path. And it was met with so much hostility and judgment that I realized to protect the peace that I've created, the healthy thing to do was actually walk away from that. Would I be open if there was like ownership and compassion and a conversation? 100%. I would leave that door open. I'm not saying cut it off forever no matter what. People can change, but most people don't. And I know that sounds a little negative, but in my personal experience, everyone says they want change. Not very few people are actually willing to do the work to change, because it takes an uncomfortable amount of accountability and it takes an uncomfortable amount of taking action to change whatever it is you're wanting to shift. So those are some things to really look at. And is your life peaceful? Do you feel at peace? Do you feel safe? In a healthy thing, you're going to feel safe. You're going to be able to bring up whatever you need to bring up. It may not be comfortable to bring it up, but it's going to be met with like compassion. It's going to be met with, okay, whoa, let's talk about this. Is it chaotic to bring stuff up? Do you feel like you have to avoid uncomfortable conversations because you're walking on eggshells? Big old red flag. If you can talk about anything and you feel energetically safe, that's healthy. If you don't, something to look at. And the last thing I'll say on that I want to reiterate, if any of these red flags are happening, it's important to come to the truth that that will never change unless you directly address it and make it clear it needs to, or you walk away.
Yeah, that's important
Yeah.
because people who are in these dynamics have this fantasy that things are going to change, things are going to get better. This person's going there. It's only for this time. It's only because it's the holidays. It's only because they're stressed out. It's only because we're still trying to make the money we need. No, no, no.
100%.
You cannot fantasize about that potential. That person might have that potential. This is obviously my perspective, but not everyone wants to meet their potential. People are going to do what they want to do and where it comes from. Yes, it could be wounds, patterns, astrology things, lower frequencies, and it could be so many different reasons for that which doesn't really, it's not really relevant. It's, yeah, just focusing on it's not going to change, and you have to take accountability. This is for anyone listening. I was also in a narcissistic dynamic, and I gave away all my power, right? And so I realized like
Mm-hmm.
I was just as much as a player
Mm-hmm.
in the dynamic. I can't speak for everyone in narcissistic dynamics, but for me, I had a couple openings. You know, there was some space to make decisions, and I just chose not to. So I love that we're really unpacking that. I want to get your take on what are some beginning steps, like very, very early beginning steps for healing and reclaiming personal power. I know you talked a lot about setting boundaries, you know, that those types of things. So maybe you might want to reemphasize that. But what are some healing steps for reclaiming personal power for people who are coming out of narcissistic dynamics?
First off, I love patterns. So my brain works. I kind of like watch patterns, and one of the patterns that I've seen, healing steps. I'll talk about two things. One, there tends to be this chapter of isolation that'll come when you first get out of that, and it's so necessary. So one, let yourself be isolated for a bit so you can feel all the things you need to feel. If you have healthy supportive community, that's great, but it's good no matter what, you're going to feel isolated. And that isolation period, in my experience, is by design for you to re-find yourself, because you've lost yourself a bit in this narcissistic dynamic because you've sacrificed so much of your authenticity. Like your world became about them. So lean into the isolation period a bit and like allow yourself to re-find yourself. There are so many, like I locked myself in a room, and I made a very intentional choice to not do any kind of numbing, escaping. I worked with Hape, which is a tobacco-based medicine, which was really beautiful and helpful. But I just sat with so much of myself to allow myself to process stuff. You're going to feel lonely. Let yourself feel the loneliness. You have to, because the loneliness, it's not loneliness from being away from them. It's the bottled up loneliness you felt while you were with them. And all that has to be felt. It has to be expressed. You need to let yourself process that so you can like come back to your authentic self. So one, if it's isolating, just be with that. It's temporary, but just let yourself find yourself again. Get into, what do you love? What do you love to eat? What do you love to do? What do you love? What does your routine look like? You have to kind of re-find yourself. Two, and this is a process. It's different timing for everyone on this. So I'm not saying rush this, but if you really want to know a healing thing, as uncomfortable as it is, become intentional about not avoiding any uncomfortable conversations in your life. Look at all the relationships you have, because at the energetic root, every choice you make is communication with the divine in some way, whatever that is to you. When we avoid an uncomfortable conversation, we're sacrificing our authenticity and our voice, and that's not going to resonate with our soul for that attachment relationship. So it's incredibly healing, incredibly empowering to begin the intentional practice of speaking whatever uncomfortable truths you have to, and expressing yourself and leaning into uncomfortable conversations. And ironically, there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose by that, because the relationship, I don't care if it's family, platonic, romantic, a relationship that is meant for you, that is not just gaining off of you or not just wondering what they can take, that is truly meant for you, that wants to see the best of you too, you're going to work through that. You're going to expand through it. On the other end, you're going to get deeper clarity that this may be an unhealthy mirror. This may be a deeper lesson of boundaries. This may be a deeper lesson of walking away. There's so many variables in relationships. I can never tell you what to do with any relationship, but get into the practice of having uncomfortable conversations. It's incredibly empowering. It'll come full circle on healing abandonment wounds. The more you do it, it's very healing, and it cleans up your inner circle so much. It cleans it up, because people that you're going to get a lot of clarity one way or another, but you won't get clarity on the relationships in your life if you're avoiding the uncomfortable conversations. So lean into the time of refinding yourself, and lean into the uncomfortable conversations that you're avoiding in your life. Those two things are going to be really helpful.
What is healthy divine masculine energy? What does it look like to you?
It is the ability to, oh man, this is really good too. You have some really fantastic questions. I love these topics you're diving into, because in my opinion, the world, what the number one thing I think the world needs right now is men healing, men truly healing and stepping into their healthy divine masculine leadership. I've worked with thousands of people over the years. 80% to 85% of the people that come to ayahuasca retreats are women. The coaching I do, women, 90% women. It's in my experience, and I'm not saying there's not, this is coming from a guy that was with a very unhealthy, toxic woman. They're out there too. But in my experience, the women are doing a lot of the deep healing work. There's a lot of conditioning and programming keeping men from doing it, and their own ego keeping men from doing it. So one, they need to do their healing work, because there's this really beautiful blueprint, beautiful, intimate, expansive blueprint of the masculine, feminine energies. But safety is the foundation in the feminine. Safety is the foundation. So men have got to get lust under control. Number one. It's the number one energy that controls and manipulates men. So if any man is truly dedicated to their path, they have to begin the process of mastering that energy. If that energy is not under control, a woman that has done her healing work, that is in her divine feminine, will sense this unsafety on an unconscious level. That's by design. So there's not going to be a full ability to relax and flow if that lustful energy is not under control. And there's no excuse. Like, it's a choice. Like, men are really good at making excuses, and it's a choice. It is your choice to lean into, to like, you just have to do the work to be able to control, to not, there's nothing wrong with the energy. It's beautiful, it's expansive, but not have that be what is driving your choices and your decisions. So one, get that energy under control. There's a lot of absent, not long term, but like 30-day. There's different work that I do to help men with that. But get that energy under control. You have to do that. Number one. And also the ability to really be present and sit with the feminine has these such a powerful emotional process because the womb's connected to the other world. We don't have that. We have a connection, but it's not the same. So there's these emotions that come through that are so essential to the process. If a man thinks his emotions are weakness, then he's going to see the feminine's emotions as something that needs to be fixed. And that's totally not true. The majority of the time in my healthy relationship now, just be with it and validate it. But you're not going to, and if they want your advice, they'll ask and then give it, of course. But men have to be able to, there's a time to be strong. There's a time to be a rock. There's a time to be really strong, but there's a time to express your emotions vulnerably too. And a woman in her divine feminine will see you expressing vulnerably in a healthy way as something strong. It's not a weakness. It's a strength. So men have to do the work to know their emotions aren't weak, and they need to be able to express those in the times whenever it's important to express those instead of bottling those in. Getting the energy of lust under control, and discipline. Discipline equals freedom. For men, you have to stop avoiding uncomfortable shit. Like you have to understand that the path of an impactful, healthy man is hard. And if you think it's easy, you're just going to keep backing down. You need to create discipline, like create a morning routine. The Bhagavad Gita talks about this a lot. Every sacred text talks about this. The Bhagavad Gita, I love how directly it talks about it. But stilling the mind every single day, creating a point of focus every day, and quieting the mind every day will create discipline in the mind. So men need to create discipline in their life, like face the hard stuff, stop avoiding uncomfortable things. They need to get the energy of lust under control. 100%. That's a non-negotiable if you really desire an intimate, healthy thing. Knowing that your emotions are not weak. And there was one more that was coming to me. Oh, I lost it, but if it comes back, I'll tell you.
Okay. Wow. But those are really good. And I just want to like let that land because it's like, yeah, get the lust under control, create self-discipline in the mind. Those are so like they seem small, but like the ripple effect of those significant things, it's like it can help someone like collapse timelines, choose, just kind of be like on a completely different path.
It's accountability.
Accountability. Okay.
You have to take radical accountability of everything in your life. Anywhere a
Yeah.
man is making an excuse for something in his life, he's disempowering himself. So radical
Yeah.
self accountability of everything in your life. My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
All good. Since you said accountability, and I was kind of mentioning earlier that I was, also in a narcissistic dynamic, the first book that I read, it was so out of character for me, but I feel like God just placed it on my path. It was an audiobook because I was doing real estate at the time, so I was driving around a lot. And I think his name, is it Jocko Willis? Is that his name?
Oh yeah.
So
Hmm.
it's all about, it's like a military book. It's for men. Like here I am just like in my feminine, trying to recover and pick up the pieces of whatever feminine energy I had left. But the accountability was also that was the medicine that I needed in that moment, coming fresh out of that situation. So that just kind of ties into other things that we were talking about. But thank you for adding in that third thing of accountability. So I love that. This is so much good stuff. And so as we start to wrap up here, I just kind of want to start to tie everything in. Are there any other like nuggets of wisdom in relation to the authentic self and ayahuasca, kind of being one of the tools that can help us get there? Is there anything else that's coming through around that?
Yeah, so an interesting thing happens with ayahuasca, and again, this is just based on patterns. I really love patterns because I feel like once I see a pattern, I can like create some kind of truth around it while still like watching it. But you can change anything in your life if you desire it enough, and if you're willing to take, if you desire it enough, and if you're willing to take action to change it. So The example of that is, the little bit of a formula I've created that you can apply to anything in your life. It's not easy, but you can take, and I'll tell you how ayahuasca plays into that. Is first, it's a three-part quick formula. One, objectively look at the patterns in your life, because this whole experience has been created for you, even though it can be like, how is this happening? It all is for us in some way. So one, look at the patterns in your life. What patterns are repeating that is creating disharmony in your life? That's step one. Once you see the pattern, you then can move to step two. You have to look at the role you're playing in that pattern, and the world will give you everything to blame. It'll give you every person, it'll give every situation. But two, take radical self responsibility of the role you're playing in the pattern that you want to change. And three, which is the hardest part, and I'll tell you how this ties into ayahuasca, you have to take action to change it. And the reason, and you have to take action specifically with the accountability you just took, specifically around the pattern you want to change. And the reason why that's hard is any action you go to take. If you wanted to start a podcast, start a business, go sit with ayahuasca, leave a toxic relationship, open your heart to a new one, whatever it is, that when you go to take the action, all your stuff is going to come up. The abandonment wounds, the fear of being hurt, the fear of being judged, not being enough, all whatever it is, it's all going to come up when you go to take action. It's almost like God being like, do you really want this change? Are you ready to work through this? Like, and that's the difference. I've been really blessed to work with some incredible people. I've worked with like gold medal Olympians. I've worked with motivational speakers, like all across the board. And the people that can make actionable change can do those three things. They can reflect within themselves. They can see the pattern. They can take accountability, and they follow through on the action. Ayahuasca is only one example, but when it comes up, it'll call you, but it's an opportunity. And if you answer it, all your stuff comes up before you even go to sit. So any action you take, be ready to really sit through that.
So powerful. All right, what are some takeaways for, just simple steps for the listeners? What would be their next step if this episode really resonated with you? Authenticity, divine masculine energy. If ayahuasca's been calling you and you've been sitting with it because you're just waiting for the next step. Do you have any steps for people to take on that? Any
Yeah.
guidance?
Yeah, so I do really powerful one-on-one coaching, but I also have for people that are going through financial stuff. I have a lot of free stuff. I have like a WhatsApp group that's totally free. We have like 200 people in it. I post and do live Zooms in there all the time. I created it when I was in the Amazon, so I can send you the WhatsApp link. It's just a really free, supportive community. I do a lot of content out there. Anyone that wants to work together, I do one-on-one coaching for sure. With a 1-month-old daughter, I only have like a few spots a month that I work with, but there's still that opportunity. And I have some amazing relationships in the Putumayo of the Amazon. That's like the brain of the Amazon. We're sold out of all of our things this year, but next year I'm going back to the Amazon, and there's a beautiful week-long retreat that's super cost effective. That's going to be in the heart of in the brain of the Amazon, in the Putumayo. I'll be going out there just to play medicine music and sit in ceremony. The elders are facilitating that, and I'll be doing workshops in between. And then I do have a really incredible team in Salt Lake. This lady, Linnell, her two daughters, I've been working with them for years. They have a beautiful location. We do small, intimate retreats out there too. I personally facilitate those, and we have an incredible integration team. And there's a couple spots open in January of 2026 too. So you can reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm happy to give you info on that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that and your work and how people can work with you and if they're really inspired and if maybe this episode is their calling to finally take action, to finally answer ayahuasca's call. And the energy that you guys do this with is so, I mean, the environment, the energy, the person, it's so important. So
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like the call, like pay attention to that so that way you can really make sure you're in alignment with how you do it. So yeah, connect with David. All of his info is below in the description. We have his Instagram link, his Facebook link, and even TikTok. And connect with them there and leave us with maybe a quote, a word of wisdom, maybe a book recommendation, something short and sweet or powerful.
We all have the freedom of choice, but we do not have the freedom of the consequences of our choices. So choose wisely. You have the power. This whole thing of everything is perfect as it is rooted in truth. But if you're truly unhappy with something, you can take action to change it. So take action. You got the power in you, and you're divinely supported. You're divinely supported for anything that's meant for you. In regards to book recommendations, I mean, I've read it multiple times, but the Bhagavad Gita is so good, and the Surrender Experiment. That's a really good one too. That's a really
I
good
didn't
one.
get into that, but maybe I got to try it again.
It's good. It's good. The
Maybe I
lessons
wasn't
in it are really good.
surrendering.
Yeah, there you go. I also one of the things too I want to mention. I published my first poetry book a few weeks ago, and all the poetry came through while I was healing from those narcissistic things. So it's like these deep dives of realization, and it's about 50 poems called Intimate Presence. That's on
Hmm.
Amazon if anyone wants to check it out too. But it's all basically poems around healing from that, and then finding really healthy love and beginning to tiptoe into healthy love after something unhealthy.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you, David, for being on the show. Thank you for your time and your energy. It was such an honor to have you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Namaste. Have a great day.